I was folding laundry in the living room when I heard the scream. It wasn't one of those tantrum yells kids throw during a sugar crash. It was sharp, panicked, real. My 5-year-old son, Mason, had been playing in the kitchen with his orange juice while my sister Rachel watched him. Or so I thought. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. I dropped the towel, heart pounding, and rushed in. What I saw stopped me cold. Mason was curled into a ball on the floor, his tiny arms covering his head. Rachel towered over him, a leather belt dangling from her hand like it was an extension of her rage. His cup had spilled juice everywhere, but all I could see was the fresh red welt blooming across his back. "Rachel!" I screamed, yanking the belt out of her hand. "What the hell are you doing?" She didn't flinch. She didn't even look sorry. He disrespected my kitchen. He poured juice all over my clean floors and laughed. "He's 5, I shouted. "He didn't do it on purpose." Rachel rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. "Kids need discipline, Emma. Not your gentle parenting garbage. You coddle him like he's a doll. No wonder he's spoiled." I was shaking. I knelt beside Mason, who was silently crying into his little fists. "It's okay, baby. Mama's here," I whispered, pulling him into my lap, shielding him. Rachel scoffed again and walked out of the kitchen like it was nothing, like she hadn't just lashed a belt across a 5-year-old's skin. I should have left right then, but the worst part, we were staying at my parents' house temporarily. After my divorce, I had nowhere else to go. My ex took everything, and the court battle drained what little I had. So when my mother offered to let us stay in the guest room until I got on my feet, I said yes. I had no idea what that yes would cost me. Later that night, I sat across from my mom in the dim dining room. Mason was asleep upstairs, his little face swollen from tears. I laid it all out, everything. I begged her to see the truth. But instead of outrage, she sipped her wine and said, "Emma, you're always overreacting. Rachel's not perfect, but she's your sister." She didn't mean it. "She hit him," I said, barely keeping my voice steady with a belt multiple times. My mom shrugged. "And that's how we raised you girls. You turned out fine." "No, I didn't," I whispered. "I spent years in therapy to feel like a human being again." She sighed like I was exhausting her. "Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. You call the cops. You'll ruin her career. She just got that teaching job. She's finally stable." My blood turned to ice. "You care more about her job than your own grandson?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The silence said it all. The next day, Rachel acted like nothing happened. She even brought Mason a new toy truck, smiling like it erased the bruises on his spine. I kept my distance, but inside I was unraveling, torn between survival and justice. That night, Mason woke up crying, clutching his blanket and saying, "I'll be good, Mommy. Please don't let Auntie hurt me again." Something snapped in me. I knew then, no matter how broke I was, no matter how many bridges I had to burn, I was getting us out. I waited until morning, packed everything we owned in 3 trash bags and a laundry basket. As I loaded it into my old Corolla, my mom stood at the porch with her arms crossed. "You're making a mistake," she called out. "Don't come crying when you're homeless again." I didn't even look back because I had nothing left to lose. The motel smelled like bleach and sadness. That first night after leaving my parents' house, Mason and I huddled in a twin bed, the buzz of the neon vacancy sign flickering through the dusty blinds. I held him close as he slept, wincing every time his little body shifted and brushed against the welts on his back. I couldn't afford much, just enough for a week. I had $317 in my account, 2 pairs of clean clothes, and a child who now flinched when anyone raised their voice. But I had something else, too. Anger. I'd lived my whole life under my family's version of discipline. Slaps that stung. Words that stuck. Favoritism so blatant it left scars deeper than bruises. My parents worshipped Rachel. Her polished smile, her rehearsed charm, her ability to manipulate anyone into thinking she was innocent. But she wasn't. She was dangerous. And I had let that danger touch my son. No more. I spent the next few days applying to every job within walking distance. Mason colored in the motel Bible while I made cold calls, filled out forms, and silently promised him things would get better. I picked up overnight shifts at a 24-hour grocery store restocking shelves. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. I told no one where we were, not even Brianna, my best friend, because I knew my mom would call her, would sniff us out, try to guilt me back home. They always called it home when they wanted something. 2 weeks in, I got a second job doing remote transcription work. I sat in the motel lobby on their ancient computer for 6 hours a night, typing through crackling court audio with Mason sleeping beside me in a blanket fort of lobby chairs. But justice burned behind my eyes. I wasn't going to let it go. I documented everything. Photos of Mason's bruises, a voice memo from the night he woke up crying, texts I'd sent to my mom, ones where she said, "You blow everything out of proportion. Your sister was just correcting him." And then came the tipping point, a call from CPS. I hadn't reported Rachel yet, but someone had an anonymous tip. When the social worker arrived at the motel, I panicked. I thought they were there to take Mason, but instead, she said quietly, "We received a report of physical abuse. Would you like to file a formal complaint?" I nodded and opened the folder I'd been building since the night we left. It wasn't just about bruises anymore. It was about the system that let people like Rachel and my mother hide behind polite society and call it discipline. I gave the social worker everything. I even told her about how Rachel once pulled me by the hair down the stairs when we were kids and how my mom told me it was sibling rivalry. The investigation began. My mother tried to interfere almost immediately. She called me from a new number, said I was being dramatic again, and that Rachel could lose her license to teach. "She should," I replied. "You'd destroy your own sister's life over a little spanking." "No," I said, over assault on a 5-year-old. Then I blocked her. The weeks that followed were tense. Rachel tried calling, texting, even sending emails that said things like, "I'm sorry it got out of hand. You know how hard teaching is." She was trying to build a trail of remorse. I forwarded every message to CPS. Then came the court hearing. She thought I wouldn't show. She thought I was still that scared, silent little sister who always backed down. But this time, I brought an advocate, my CPS caseworker, my documentation, and Mason's pediatrician, who had confirmed the bruises were not accidental. Rachel sat there in pearls and pretense, dabbing her eyes like she was the victim. My mother sat behind her, arms folded, shooting me daggers the whole time. But none of it worked. The judge ruled in my favor. Rachel was issued a restraining order and reported to the school board. She lost her job 2 weeks later. My mother screamed on the phone that I'd ruined the family. But in truth, I'd saved it from them. I didn't cry when I got the court order. I cried when Mason smiled again. A real smile, the kind he hadn't worn in weeks. 2 years passed. 2 long, grueling, healing years. Mason started kindergarten at a new school with teachers who understood gentle encouragement instead of fear. He still winced when he heard belts snap on TV, but he no longer woke up in cold sweats. I got a small apartment with a patchy yard and a leaky sink, but it was ours. He painted the mailbox red with his name in crooked letters, and every time I opened it, it reminded me of how far we'd come from that motel lobby. And I never looked back until the day my mom showed up at my job. I was managing a small local library branch by then, finally off my feet and doing work I loved. I was reorganizing the children's corner when I saw her reflection in the glass, aged, bitter, wrapped in a faux designer shawl like it still held power. I didn't even flinch. "Can we talk?" she asked, eyes darting like a thief's. "I'm on the clock," I said without turning. "I'm your mother." "No," I said, calm but cold. "You were Rachel's mother. I was just someone you raised to be quiet." She scoffed, stepped closer. "Rachel's not doing well. She lost everything. Her house, her friends. She drinks now. You did that." "No," I said again, this time facing her. She did that to herself. I just stopped covering for it. Her eyes narrowed. We lost our reputation because of you. You lost your mask. She paused, then softened her voice. Mason deserves to know his aunt. Family is family. I tilted my head. You know what Mason said when I told him Rachel wasn't allowed to see him? She blinked. What? He said, good. I don't want the belt lady near me. My mom's face twisted. For a second, the real her bubbled up. The one who used to slam doors and say I was lucky to have a roof over my head. But then it got better. A week after that visit, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, from Rachel. I forgive you, it said. Forgive me. The letter rambled about how hard her life had been since the incident, how her license being revoked was too extreme, and how she hoped I would move past the grudge. So, I wrote back one sentence. Forgiveness without accountability is just manipulation in makeup. I mailed it without a return address. But karma didn't stop there. The same school district that fired her reached out to me about speaking at an annual parent safety conference. Apparently, someone had shared my court speech internally. I gave a talk called When Family is the Danger. My name started circulating. A non-profit offered me a position to lead a small grant program for survivors of family abuse. I said yes, and I created something new. The Mason Project, a small resource center where kids could report family-based violence without fear, anonymous, safe, and protected. A year after that, the city awarded us funding for expansion. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was scheduled for a warm spring morning. Mason wore a tiny suit. I wore a navy blazer and a heart that no longer trembled. The mayor handed me the scissors. I turned to the crowd and thanked the people who believed in second chances, in justice, in healing. And then I saw them in the back, my mother alone. Not with Rachel, not with anyone, just a shadow of herself. She didn't wave. She just stared. I didn't invite her, but I didn't stop the ceremony either because that day wasn't about her. It was about every child who'd ever been told, it's not a big deal. While nursing wounds no one wanted to see. It was about Mason, who now laughed without fear. It was about me, who finally, after a lifetime of silence, spoke loud enough to be heard. As the crowd clapped and the cameras flashed, I whispered one thing to myself. You survived, and that's what mattered. Not revenge, not payback, but rising from the fire without letting it consume you. My sister beat my child with a belt. My mother laughed. But I built something stronger than their cruelty. A future, a voice, a legacy, and most importantly, a safe place for those who had none. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this.